Bernstein says about David, "I love David's gentle teaching style and his genuine love for life. David walks his talk." If you would like to know more about this book, please go to davidhoffmeister.com.
So we're doing our meet and greet, our Friday night meet and greet, and we've got a pretty good flavoring of some questions here, but before we get into them too deeply, I would like to know what it is that you're coming to this online retreat for, in the sense of what does that mean to you when you hear those words, under Christ's control? How does that apply to your life? And if you have a hunch that there is something wonderful about that, what is it where you feel trapped? What is it that you feel is holding you back? What is it that you feel is keeping the repetition going, the predictability of the script? What is it that's on your heart that really is looking for an exposure and a release? Maybe we should try to open it up, and I just love hearing from you and hearing what's going on in your mind tonight as we talk about this amazing topic and this amazing opportunity we have for freedom to really break free.
Okay, go ahead, Patrick.
Hi, everyone.
Hi there.
Hi.
I've been doing the same thing for a long time. I've had the same job for a long time. I've been married to the same person for many years. And when I went to Mexico last year, I decided I wanted to move to Mexico and sell my house and leave my wife. But I realized that the outward behavior is not so important as, the inner state of mind. But now, I don't know, it's been a slow process trying to, settle all my personal affairs and be in agreement with my partner. As I'd like to go fast, and other people seem to be going slower. So that's the kind of the block I feel. I feel like I'm kind of, enmeshed in all this gooey karma or whatever it is, and it's hard to. It's not hard, but I have to kind of surrender to what's going on rather than to my, my personal agenda. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now. The idea of, being in a totally different situation where I can, maybe, just not have the same kind of restraints on me, and just being able to surrender. I don't know, maybe it's the wrong kind of, I could do that now, but for some reason I think if I have different circumstances, it'd be easier to surrender. So I don't know, maybe if you can respond to that, please.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like that's one of the values of these online retreats, is it's kind of like it's stirring up your motivation for expansiveness, for release. There's a movie that's one of the classic movies that is part of the community. It's about the life of Saint Francis, Brother, Sun, Sister Moon, and there's a song in there that literally has the words, "Day by day, stone by stone, build your secret surely." it's almost like the secret is I'm going to escape. Nobody knows it, but it's a little bit like the Shawshank Redemption, with a character who feels imprisoned, but also has a steadfast devotion to doing whatever's required and keeping the faith and keeping the fire bright and keeping the spark bright and having that steadfastness to move in the direction. And I can certainly relate to that. I can think back to the time when I was in school and the times when I was doing co-op things, and I felt like I was going through the motions, but there was a spark in me, and even if that spark was just something like, there has to be more. There has to be more. I know there's more. I don't know fully what it is, but I know it's there. Then that really motivated me to go forward and move in the direction that I was being called. And it took a form of, I had simple lunches, and I basically focused my energy like a beam of light towards the direction that I was being called in the everyday, in the day-to-day activities, keeping the spark bright.
Yeah, I'd like to share a bit about that too, because I had a relationship where there even seemed to be a contract, and when I felt the guidance to end it, and the people around me, some of them didn't necessarily agree. It was an interesting situation, like, what do I do? Because everything's supposed to be flowy, and you're like a garden stream, or whatever that quote. It wasn't exactly a garden stream. But it was a really powerful assignment for me, because what I had to do was, like what David said, have his being focused and state clearly what I felt in the moment. And then this big reaction would come, and then all sorts of demands and anger and whatever. And then I just actually had to meet those demands in a very fresh and new way. It was like a real deep, prayerful time. What are they really asking for? What can I give that? And when I would meet it, the mind would just soften so beautifully, and we'd be in this deep, holy encounter, and then they would do the part that I had asked under no duress and totally from grace and voluntarily. And then another request would come in, and it'd be the same thing. Meet the demand, and I'd have to see my personal agenda to make the changes, in your case, to go to Mexico. There is an agenda underneath. Like, once you hear the guidance, it's like, okay, well, now I personally got to make it happen. But no, you don't. This is the whole retreat. You do your part. You take a step forward, and if there's obstacles to clear, he'll do it as we practice our training. So I want more of that. I enjoyed that.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. And I have to say, oh my gosh, following the Course and with this community of mighty companions, I just feel like I've been so touched by the devotion that I see, where people feel a strong calling and they go for it, but it seems to take a while. And who is it? Our friend that's been living in her car and is going with Eric. Eric is on here. Tamara has gone through a phase recently where she's been living in her Rev 4, and
she loves
gearing up, and there's Michael too. Michael felt this calling, and he felt he was to separate, divorce his wife, and leave his career and do all these kind of things. And I remember Michael coming down there to Australia, and you were living out of your car too. You had a little Honda, I think it was like a Honda hatchback. I mean, yeah. I love the determination. If I put a montage of all these people, maybe you can share about that, Michael. That was a time where you were all fired up, and you really were as happy as can be. And that car was packed to the gills. That was not like a van. That was like a Honda hatchback. And you kept the faith and that spark going there in this big journey and voyage, and there you are, as happy as can be. But share a little bit about that phase in that little Honda.
Yeah, it was
hatchback.
interesting. Well, we had a house we were going to go to, and it was all set up. And just when we were going to move in, it didn't happen. It wasn't given for us to be in the house, and so suddenly it was like all this stuff came up. So you talk about being joyful. Well, there was a bunch of stuff that came up before the joy. It was like, whoa, what are we going to do? Where are we going to go? What's going to happen? I was just divorcing, so there was a whole lot of funds, but they were all sort of frozen at the time while things were being sorted out. And so we're just like, well, what's going to happen here? And all this stuff came up, and then there was this beautiful, beautiful realization that where is my home? Where is my home really? Is it in a house? Is it on the street? My home is with God. My home is with my Father in heaven, really. And it was like an epiphany, like a real whoa. It was like an awakening moment, I felt, because in that moment there was all this joy. We're going to be in our car. And we're not just talking about a big Honda. This is a little tiny Honda Civic, the old Honda Civics that were tiny. But it was just so joyful. We just didn't care. We're going to sleep on the side of the road. That's okay. Really, it just didn't matter. We were just in this joy of this full realization, acceptance, and like a full experience that my real home is with my Father in heaven. There's nothing that can satisfy me in this world. There's nothing in form that can compare to that at all, or is of any relief, comfort, pleasure at all. My home is with my Father in heaven. Being with that, and then just being open to that and really not caring, and that's okay to say that in the moment. So what happened over the coming weeks, and it was actually months, was just miracle upon miracle. We were just showered in miracles, just, people inviting us in, holy encounters all over the place, being guided, not having to worry about where we're going. We're just travelling along, and suddenly a theatre came along. There was that movie Hereafter had just come out. We didn't know anything about it, but we were guided to go to the cinema. We went to this, and it was just an amazing experience with this amazing movie. And it was at the night time, and we said, what are we going to do, and where are we going to sleep tonight? I can't even remember what happened, but I remember it all just worked out so beautifully. And, even sleeping in a tent for a while with one of our friends, her kids were in the house and they were jealous. We were in the tent in the backyard. It was this luxury tent. It was just like miracle after miracle. And I think that's what it is when we say yes. And when our heart is really with our Father, with the Christ, and just being open to the miracles, they happen. And it's not trying to make them happen or even looking forward to them. It's just saying yes, just moving in the direction, just saying, okay, Jesus, I'm under your control now. I'm just going to be under Christ's control and letting it unfold and just watch the miracles happen. It's amazing. And just when you've been showered in them over and over and over again, and it's just crazy then to try and do anything by myself anymore, because I've just been proven wrong so many times when I try and do that. And so, it works out so beautifully when I just say, not my will, but yours, dear Father. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, don't even get us started with our car stories, Patrick, because we could go all weekend with just car stories of miracle car stories, because we've had so many of them. But the theme of, I think it is too, for myself, for a lot of us, we follow the world's formula. Michael, who was just talking there about living in a car, had a construction company, was the head of the company, a beautiful house, a wife, children, had the thing that people go, well, you've arrived. You've arrived. If you've got all that, you've done it. You've done what you were here to do. But there was an unfulfillment. There was something inside that was like, there's something calling me to a higher state of mind, and that's my purpose for being here, not accumulating the things that the world would say is the dream, the happy dream, but actually being taken on a journey of listen, follow, and really going on that journey. And we're with you on that. We know that it takes patience, it takes strength. That's one of the strength of God is is what I trust in, because you have